So today we have Brittany Craig. She is a registered dietitian nutritionist who has been with the Mount Sinai Cancer Center for 5 years. Prior to her role, her current role, she worked on the oncology floor at the Mount Sinai West Hospital. Brittany's special interests within nutrition include oncology, integrative health, and fertility. Today, we will be reviewing what exactly CBD is, the therapeutic benefits, and how you may use it today. So I will hand it over to Brittany, who will share her screen. And again, feel free to put questions into the chat or hold them until after for our Q&A.
Thanks, Carly. So hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen now. Let's see. Okay. Let me just start it. All right, great. So everyone can see that, right? Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you very much, Carly, again, and I'm happy to be here today to talk about a topic that I think is really, really interesting and continuing to develop right now, which we'll get into in a moment. But our topic today, as Carly mentioned, is CBD, and specifically what it is and how it can help you during cancer treatment and beyond. And it can help with a lot of things aside from just cancer as well. So we'll get started. So, oops, why can't I switch my, there we go. Okay. So today we're going to discuss again what CBD is, the history of cannabis, which is what CBD is, it's cannabis, the endocannabinoid system, some medical uses for CBD, CBD and cancer, some different routes of administration, how to purchase it, and some recipe ideas. So what is CBD? CBD stands for cannabidiol, which is a specific component of the cannabis plant. CBD is one of the many phytocannabinoids in the cannabis plant. There are over 100 different phytocannabinoids that are unique to cannabis. So, for example, some other ones that you might have heard, THC, which is commonly heard, it's the one that sort of gives people that high effect. CBG, which is starting to be researched more, but it's found in smaller doses in the cannabis plant. And again, CBD, which we'll be mostly talking about here. But there are numerous different types of phytocannabinoids, which is important to understand within the cannabis plant. CBD is non-intoxicating, non-addictive, and non-euphoric. So it does not give that high sensation that people generally think of when they're thinking of cannabis. And there are numerous therapeutic benefits found in CBD. It can help with pain relief, it can help with inflammation, it can help with anxiety. The benefits are numerous, which we'll get into more in a moment. So just kind of a rundown idea of visual of the cannabis plant. When we think cannabis plant, oftentimes people just think marijuana, which yes, it is. It comes from cannabis, but marijuana is particularly a form of cannabis that is grown to have very high levels of THC, one of the many cannabinoids. And hemp is more traditionally grown with less THC. And in particular for CBD, it's what is typically used to grow a higher amount of CBD. But again, they're all the cannabis plant. They all look like what we think of growing up as marijuana. Just to get that idea in our heads. So a little side note too, what is THC? Again, it's also, as mentioned, another type of cannabinoid, and it does provide that more high or psychoactive effect that we think of, but it truly does also have its own therapeutic benefits and synergistic effects. So it can help with appetite, it can help with nausea suppression. One of the common drugs a lot of people probably have heard of or maybe even have used in the past, Marinol, is used with THC in it, and it's really helpful and beneficial during certain chemotherapies where people have a lot of nausea. So that's important to note that, again, it does have benefits. And again, as mentioned, a plant that's high in THC was typically discussed and called marijuana in the past. That's just a little side note. Again, so just think these are all just little components, little cannabinoids within the cannabis plant. Some history of cannabis, which I find so fascinating. It dates back to 4000 BC and was used in Chinese medicine back that far. In the 1840s, there's been research found that Queen Victoria used a cannabis tincture to help relieve her menstrual pain. In the early 1900s, Mexican immigrants were smoking cannabis, which is how it was coined marijuana. And in the 1930s, when the Great Depression hit the US, many people wanted something to blame. So they thought of cannabis as this foreign substance that was corrupting the United States, and it was really looked down upon at that point. And that's why in 1937, a Marijuana Tax Act was created, which basically federally criminalized the plant in every US state. By the 1970s, which was considered that war on drug period, cannabis was scheduled as a Schedule I classification under the Controlled Substance Act. This is the same classification that heroin is in, and other extremely more dangerous drugs. But it's also kind of makes sense when we think politically why back in the 80s, 90s, it was really looked down upon because it was considered to be a Schedule I drug. Back in the 1990s, 1996 in particular, was when people were starting to again discuss the actual therapeutic benefits of the plant, and California was the first state to approve the medical use of it. In 1999, the Institute of Medicine reported the medical uses of cannabis and really discussed that there were a lot of benefits: nausea relief, pain, anxiety relief, appetite improvement. When we fast forward to 2018, that's when a lot of change happened because this farm bill was created that basically stated any products manufactured from hemp, which contained less than 0.3% THC, was now exempt from the Federal Controlled Substance Act, meaning that CBD was officially legal in all US states and was not considered a Schedule I drug. So there was a lot of confusion, I think, when this started to happen because people started to question, well, what is it? Is it cannabis? Is it pot? Is marijuana? How is this legal? And there was a lot of confusion about that. But again, it was basically stating that cannabis is safe. Just for a period of time, they were still considering THC to be a little bit more not safe. And I'm not saying that it's not safe, but that was sort of where that law came into place. So now currently, although it's changing constantly, there are 21 states as of, I think, a week ago when I checked, that have legalized all of cannabis. New York State being one, as I think many of us know. About a year ago, it was approved, all cannabis, meaning any type of cannabinoids. So THC, CBD is now legal for any adult 21 years and older. And I think those laws are going to continue to be ever evolving as more and more research is coming out. Now that it's been downgraded pretty much from not being a Schedule I drug, we can start to develop more research on it again. So now we will discuss the endocannabinoid system. This is a really interesting system that is in our bodies that I feel like we didn't, at least I didn't learn that much about in school. It's a neuromodulatory system that plays a really important role in our central nervous system. And basically, our bodies have receptors that naturally attach to cannabinoids. We have phytocannabinoids, which is from the environment. So CBD being one, THC being another. And then we have endocannabinoids, meaning our body does have an endogenous system of creating this regulatory system. So our body does create some cannabinoids naturally, but there truly is actually a system in place where when we get these from the environment, it helps with regulation. It helps with central nervous system balance. It helps with pain relief. It helps with appetite. Again, some of the things we've already discussed, but it's really fascinating that our bodies are sort of created in this way that we respond well to these plant sources. So some of the medical uses that we know currently are really beneficial for CBD. Again, CBD being the non-psychoactive form of cannabis that is legal everywhere right now. So it really helps with pain in particular. It can help with multiple sclerosis side effects, fibromyalgia. It's been found to be very useful for any mental health conditions such as PTSD, depression, anxiety. It's useful for insomnia, migraines, and then some side effects of cancer treatment. So cancer and CBD, these are just some anecdotes from areas of research that we know, but it's because we still need a lot of research to be completed on this. But CBD has been definitely found to minimize some of the treatment-related side effects from cancer or chemotherapy, like pain, nausea, anxiety, insomnia. There is emerging evidence coming out that suggests that phytocannabinoids, again, all the cannabinoids that come from cannabis, might be really beneficial in just fighting cancer in general. CBD has been found to have a chemopreventive effect in the mouse models of colon cancer, meaning that it can actually help with the side effects of chemotherapy for patients with colon cancer. And both phytocannabinoids and endocannabinoids, the ones that our body creates on their own, have been found to have a risk reduction effect in the treatment of colorectal cancer. There's also preclinical research that indicates the endocannabinoids may aid in controlling nausea as well. So a lot of really interesting research. Nothing is super definitive yet, but the reason that it's not definitive yet is because when cannabis was a Schedule I drug, research was halted. No research was allowed to occur. So we have to keep that in mind, that it's not that the research likely isn't there. It's that we finally are just now being able to do research again on the plant. And there are some possible drug interactions. So it's important to know it's not just completely free and not without its own potential side effects. There is a potential for an increase in toxicity or decrease in effectiveness of the interaction of cannabis and any drug that's metabolized by cytochrome P450. That's basically just the same enzyme process that metabolizes certain drugs. It's also how cannabis is metabolized. For example, a lot of times if you see a medication like cholesterol medication that says grapefruit is contraindicated, it's that same system. So just important to be mindful of and maybe discuss with your doctor or medical team. Tamoxifen, which is a very common hormone regulatory drug for a lot of patients with breast cancer, is in that system. So it's important to note. I don't think it necessarily means you can't or shouldn't use CBD at all, but it's important to be aware of and just talk further with your medical team if you're interested. There has been found to be a reduction in response rate to certain immunotherapy drugs, such as the nivolumab. So again, if you're on any immunotherapies, chemotherapy, other cancer drugs, it's just important to be aware. And then smoking cannabis may contain aspergillus, which is a certain fungus that can sometimes increase risk of infection, especially for people that are immunocompromised. So if that's the case for you, or you are immunocompromised, and you're interested in using CBD, there are lots of other administration routes that would likely be a better option than smoking or inhaling it. So now administration routes for CBD. There are a lot of different ways that people like to use CBD. The most common is probably an oil, but you can ingest it. There are capsules, there are edibles. People will use a little bit of the CBD oil and use it in baking or in a drink. And the way that you administer CBD does affect the onset and the duration. So ingesting it, however that may be, will likely provide its effect in 30 to 90 minutes and last anywhere from 6 to 12 hours. Inhaling it, which would typically for CBD would be like vaping, can come on fast, 1 to 3 minutes, and last only about 1 to 3 hours. Mind you, when I say come on fast, it's not a psychoactive effect, so it's not going to be like this crazy feeling, but you might find relief in pain. If you're having a really bad headache, it might provide relief quite quickly. Sublingual or tinctures, this is probably most common I see in an oil. People will use it just right under their tongue and hold it there for absorption. And that's a pretty quick onset as well, about 15 to 30 minutes, and can last 2 to 4 hours. Topical, which would be like balms, lotions, maybe even a bath soak. This one I love because it's not ingested, so I don't think it has necessarily the same effect in terms of interaction with different drugs or medications, but it can be really helpful for localized pain. So if someone is experiencing like arthritic pain and they use it maybe on their hands or wherever they're feeling pain, even sometimes the temples for a headache, it can provide some relief. And that can last anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. Transdermal, I haven't seen this that often, but there are patches that contain CBD or gel. Same idea of the topical for more generally localized pain, but can help with just overall relaxation as well. So I know a little silly, but purchasing CBD, this is an important slide because how you purchase it is very important. Obviously, things are just changing now in terms of legality of CBD and cannabis in general. So there are a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon and trying to take advantage, and they might not be a good product or safe product. So very important to be aware of that. When you are purchasing CBD, it's best to know where it originated from. Right now, I think for safety purposes, it's better to just get it within the US, unless there's another country that you know that has good regulation on the product. That's probably fine too. But for now, that would be my recommendation. Make sure that it says it's the whole plant and organically grown to avoid any weird pesticides or additives added to it. And truly most important is that it contains third-party lab testing. Any good, true CBD company or product will state very obviously on their website, on their products, that they do independent third lab testing. This proves that they have shown exactly what is in their product, the cannabinoid profile, and exactly how much CBD and other cannabinoids are in their product. These are a few reputable companies that I recommend. However, there are truly so many out there now. But from my own experience and some of my patients' experiences, Blended Harvest is a great company. This promo code should potentially still work, but if not, you can email me. I'll have my contact information at the end. Charlotte's Web is another very popular one. Green Roads, Lord Jones was one of the first companies. It's a little bit on the, I think, more pricier side, but they have like fun gummies and things like that that people like. And Viva Oil is a really great company as well. I've personally purchased from them in the past. Again, many companies out there. Just be sure to do the third-party lab testing when you are, or excuse me, just make sure that they do third-party lab testing when you are purchasing their products. A lot of these companies, though, have the oils, which again is probably the most common. And they have a lot of gummies or different types of edibles too. Before I go into just a recipe, one thing I wanted to mention too that I get questioned a lot about is dosage. That's not an easy answer because it truly depends on what you're looking for in the CBD product and your other maybe medications that you've been on in the past, how your body might respond to drugs or medications. For example, some people can take one, ibuprofen and have complete relief from a headache, whereas other people might need a lot more ibuprofen and potentially need something else to help with pain relief. So it is a little bit of playing around and guessing with the CBD products. Usually most companies will give a guide, like they'll say, oh, use, 2 drops of this every 6 hours for migraine. And then if it doesn't work after, is everyone muted? And then if it doesn't work after that, then you might need to up the dose. CBD oil is also found to be most beneficial when it's used on a consistent basis. For example, if you're really looking for insomnia relief, it's best to get on sort of a regimen with it, taking it every day to get the most benefit out of it. But again, it does take some playing around with. So now I just put up a couple recipes just for fun, but truly you could do anything with CBD oil. This recipe though came from Emily Kyle, who is a dietitian that is also specialized in cannabis. She is certified in cannabis education. So she's a really great resource. Her website is right up top, emilykylenutrition.com. And this is one of her recipes. It's just a smoothie, but you can see from the recipe, you can really put anything you want in it. She puts in some fruit, mango, pineapple, spinach. I love that. I love squeezing veggies in my smoothies. A plant-based milk and some coconut extract and CBD oil. So she did about a 1 dosage of the CBD oil, blended it all together. And there you have it. You have like a nice snack. and you're also getting some of that benefits from the CBD, which is a little bit more enjoyable than just putting the oil on your tongue, because that's not always the best taste. So if you prefer this method, it's definitely a nice option. And then this, I know this is a long slide. I'm happy to email people my slides later on as well. But bliss ball. So another idea is making your own like edible or snack with the CBD oil. This one includes some nuts that are grounded up, coconut oil, again, about a syringe worth or tincture of CBD oil. But this is not baked. And that's one thing I want to mention, that when the CBD oil is cooked at a very, very high temperature, it could denature the oil a little bit. So it's best, if you are interested in cooking or making a snack or food with CBD oil, to not overheat it. Warming it is okay, like putting it into a drink and warming the drink a little bit, but you don't really want to bake or like roast with it, if you will, because then you likely won't get the same benefits from the oil. And these are my references, which again, I'm happy to send any of my slides or information to anyone. This is my email address right here, which please write down. I'm always happy to answer questions or email my slides or recipes to anyone as well.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
Sure.